And I think what you're alluding to is this concept of hormesis, where biological systems need a little bit of stress to keep them ticking and fine-tuned and ready to respond to whatever may happen. But if you go to bed rest and you're at 68 degrees all the time, you're not really having to test out those systems, right?
And that creates problems. Now, we need to have that hormetic stress, a gentle, mild to moderate stress from which you can fully recover. And so we're gradually exercising that mitochondria. But you have to do it at a pace that you can manage so that you can fully recover and your mitochondria will come back. But we need to exercise them.
Did you hear what she said? Your mitochondria will come back. Like that makes me feel hopeful. This is why I love functional medicine, because it's not all doom and gloom. Like if I can create the right condition in my body, things can move towards a greater state of balance.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and exercising is a stress, right? It's a short-term stress that makes your body recognize, okay, we're doing this extra activity. We're going to need more mitochondria, right? Let's boost our mitochondrial levels and numbers and how they function.
And so there's a bunch of ways that we can do this hormesis. I talked about temperature. And for most of us, and for years, I had severe heat intolerance. If I had a fever, I couldn't see. If it was hot out, I couldn't see very well. I just really could not function. So for anyone listening, if you're going to do a hormetic stress with temperature, you need to listen very carefully to your body. It's a tiny little bit of stress. If you're symptomatic, you did too large of a stress. And maybe you start first with a little cool exposure and a little gentle warm exposure. But there's another way to get hormetic stress, and that's using food. And so I'm going to describe two ways to give yourself hormetic stress that's great for your mitochondria using food. The simplest one is to not eat, to do some fasting. So let's say right now I have 3 snacks and 3 meals. So step one is reduce the snacks and eventually get to 0 snacks in a day. So you have your 3 meals. Then when you've mastered that, then you could go down to, I'll just have 2 meals in a day. And when you've mastered that, you could move your 2 meals to a closer together. So you have a 6 to 8 hour eating window. That's called time restricted eating. And that longer period of not eating is a little bit stressful. Your mitochondria is having to do more work during that time period. And if you are like, okay, I'm ready to take the next level hormetic stress, now maybe you want to do intermittent fasting where 2 days a week you intentionally reduce your calories, maybe only to have 500 calories those 2 days. And that using a fasting pattern is a tradition that many religious traditions have, many healing traditions have a fasting pattern that might be a water fast or reduced calories. That's part of, again, many religious experiences and many healing traditions. Long history. I've done that for years, and I recommend this very highly. This is a terrific way to improve the resilience of your mitochondria. And you do this at the pace that is comfortable.
Fasting is, I think, one of those tools that hooks people and they start feeling good and then they start doing more. I think it really changes our relationship to food and how many calories we want to consume. Like it really does help bring things back into balance. And it's actually one of my favorite tools in addition to like getting out of that narrow temperature range. I think my husband's always like, oh, you have a 1 degree temperature range of comfort. I'm like, I'm either hot or I'm cold. And I've had to intentionally like figure out how to be more cold tolerant. In fact, I live in a cold area and I'm wearing this. So I've improved over the last 5 years. Like you can build these things up over time. And what I find is as I've gotten better at tolerating cold, I also tolerate heat better. Like I'm not as
Yes.
heat sensitive as I used to be. That's just my own observation. I don't actually know if there's data on that.
That is very typical. And I want to expand on the other food hormetic stress that you can do. Spices. So this is where my carnivore friends make the observation that plants have created compounds in the plant that are noxious to the insects and other animals that eat the plants. They're little poisons. And it's absolutely true. The plants are filled with little tiny poisons that are poisons. However, I want to remind all of you that whether a compound is a medicine or a poison is all about the dose. In tiny doses, these compounds are medicinal. In large doses, they can become poisons. For example, water can, and I'm sure Susan, like me, we've taken care of people who are in the intensive care unit from psychogenic polydipsia. They drank too much water and stroked as a result of excessive water intake. And we've taken care of people who didn't have enough water and were in ICU because of severe dehydration and kidney failure. Every compound that we encounter has a broad range of that is health promoting and at the extremes can be disease causing. These compounds in plants in the correct doses can be wonderfully health promoting. There are a very few compounds that are so toxic in plants that they'll kill you off very quickly. Hemlock being one of them, it killed off Socrates. The vast majority of plants, if we eat a wide variety of plants, have a wide variety of spices, we get the advantage of the hormetic challenge. So what I invite my tribe to do is explore culinary traditions, and explore other spices, other teas, have some Middle Eastern flavored, some African flavored, some Caribbean flavored foods. So it's not so much about having a huge amount of turmeric, it's about having a wide variety of culinary spices that I'm going to cook with. If I do that, I'll have the hormetic stress. If I'll have a wide variety of teas that I'm going to explore, I'll have the hormetic stress. And so I invite you, and this is a wonderful, wonderful family activity, to have a goal of we're going to have 200 different plant species that we're going to consume in the year. And now we could keep track of that, each week, each month, how many different plants that we have. You have a little spreadsheet going. Your kids will get into this. It will, as a side effect, they'll be much more interested in trying new and different spices. They'll be much more interested when you go to the grocery store saying, well, there's a different looking vegetable. We've never had that. That could add up. That we'd be up to 34 different plants that we had this month if we bring that new vegetable home. This is a great way to get your kids into understanding nutrition, to get your children into understanding hormesis, to get your children into understanding here are the simple, actionable steps that I can take that will exercise my mitochondria, that will help my cells run the chemistry of life more effectively, that will improve my resilience for my brain, for my mood, for my mental clarity, that will improve my athletic performance.
I love that. I had not heard of that 20 plant-based foods over a year. So I'm definitely going to get my kids on that. They get very competitive. So yeah, spices and other plant-based foods, like anything with phytochemicals, those colorful pigments that we see in our fruits and vegetables, like those also have that ability to influence hormesis. So we want to push these biological systems a little bit, don't let them fall asleep so that they can continue to work and do the things they need to do for us.